something a little bit different today. No books, no gear, something that you have sent me, and I'm going to share with you today on Casting Across. Hi, Matthew of castingacross.com, where I explore the quarry and culture of fly fishing. So I've been doing Casting Across for about 10 years now. So that's 10 years worth of articles. And recently I hit the 400 episode mark on the podcast. And so you're watching a YouTube video. This is actually the smallest component of content on Casting Across. But one of the things that I've enjoyed doing on the website as well as on the podcast is interacting with listener and reader questions. And so I thought I would give that a shot here on the YouTube channel, specifically as it relates to books. I recently did my 70th or so fly fishing book review, and some of them get hundreds and hundreds of views. Some of them not a lot of people are interested in, but that's okay. That's the way books go, and I think authors would certainly tell you that as well. So if you ever have questions, let me know. Matthew at castingacross.com. I'll share that at the end. You can find it in all the links and things like that. So 3 questions. First one, I've heard this from a handful of people. How should I build my fly fishing library? How should I build my fly fishing library? I would say the easiest way to do this is to buy books that look interesting to you. So if you have no budget, then go crazy. Well, that's the wrong way to say it. If you don't have a budget because you're bad with money, then don't go crazy. If you don't have a budget because you have a lot of resources, then buy whatever book you want to buy. But a good rule of thumb, and one that I've encouraged a lot of folks to do, is if you see a new book that looks interesting to you, hop on the website or see it at the bookstore and grab it, and then find an older book that also is interesting to you. So you might get drawn to the new one, but then pick out one that is older. And it might be a dud. It might be a stinker. It might be in the used bookshelf because nobody else wants it. But you're not going to know until you crack it open and get a few chapters in. And honestly, I find that a lot of the new books that I read are in many ways not as good as the old books that have persisted. And a lot of it comes down to the fact that the books that kind of stick around and have prominence are books that have stood the test of time. So that'd be my first suggestion for building up your library. Poke around at yard sales, poke around at little free libraries, poke around the used bookstore in your town if you go on vacation. So absolutely one of my favorite things to do when I'm on vacation is walk into a used bookstore. I think I've told the story before about how my wife and I walked into a used bookstore and I asked the woman if she had any fly fishing books, and she said, I just got a box in. And I spent like half an hour kind of showing her the ones that I thought might be worth, really figuring out the price, and other ones that are, $5 or $7. And so just picking up books in that way. And then if you don't like them, pass them on, throw them in a little free library, donate them to a library, whatever you feel led to do. But that new book plus old book, whether that's monthly or quarterly, whatever it is a great way to build out your library, and do it intentionally. Find books that pertain to your interests. Don't just buy random books. I mean, that's okay. But if you want that to be a library that has meaning, find something that pertains to your interests or your area of fly fishing physically. All right, that's a good question. Next one is, how do you find time to read all those books? I don't know. Well, I do know. So fly fishing is a big part of life, but it's not all I do. But what I do for work in ministry, I'm constantly reading. So, I mean, I'm not reading those books right now. This is a selection of what I'm going through right now. I'm also going through a stack of fly fishing books upstairs, and there's a couple other ministry books up by my bedside that I'm working through also. And so my recommendation, because the kind of follow-up question I usually get is, how do I read more? How do I get into a better habit of reading? There's a good chance that you're looking at something as you are going to bed. Now, I can't show you my phone because that's what I'm using to record, but instead of scrolling this way, scroll this way. And even if it's just one chapter before you get back to Instagram or whatever you do, then at least make that part of your routine. Something else that is helpful is if you're by yourself, or if you have a family, if you just have a spouse, then picking out a night of the week, which is a reading night. Nothing against TV. I'm not some sort of Luddite that says don't watch TV, don't watch YouTube, obviously. But My wife and I usually say, hey, it's a night where you want to read as opposed to find something to watch, or instead of playing a game, or instead of going to bed early, and say, yeah, we just sit down, read, nice hot drink, nice cold drink, whatever it may be, and just sit and read. It's helpful that my two oldest, when they stay up late, I say, guys, no intent of the night, just let's read together. And so that's really helpful. But just wear that groove into your schedule of reading. It's so good for your brain. It's so good for your eyes, way better than the light coming from your screen that you could be staring at as you fall asleep. So that's how I read what I read, and that is how you can read more too. All right, last question. What is your favorite fly fishing book? I've gotten this one a handful of times, and the answer is the very first book I reviewed on the YouTube book review series, which is Ed Shank's Fly Rod Trouting. Now, why? This is not a classic in the sense that some of the other books I've talked about and own and read and enjoy are, but it's a book that is special to me because there's just so much overlap in the late Ed Shank's experience and mine, including like actually fishing together, having conversations about the book and what he put in it, what he left out of it. So again, there's a very personal connection for me in that regard. And it's also an awesome example of that kind of subgenre where he's giving his recollections of his time on the water, fishing stories, for lack of a better term. But he also weaves in history, and he also talks about technique. So you are getting entertained, but you're also getting educated at the same time, which to me is just a really cool subgenre of fly fishing writing, one that I really, really enjoy. And so that book is special to me, special that I was able to share some fun memories with Ed Shank before he passed away. And I treasure that book, and I reread it quite frequently. It's worth the price alone. I think I said this in the video, for his story about his fight with Old George, the brown trout. You didn't ask this, but my second favorite book is a lot like it. It is Limestone Legends, is the recollections of the Harrisburg Fly Fishers Club, which is a series of papers that were delivered as speeches at this fly fishing dinner. I could have brought them up, but I didn't. But they range from conservation to stories to history of fly fishing in South Central Pennsylvania. And it was one of the books I got as a gift early on when I started fly fishing, and it's just a cool little book, a little bit niche, but it's just a great example of the kind of writing that I have since searched out everywhere I've lived, in the South, Mid-Atlantic, and other places of Pennsylvania, and then up here in New England, and you can usually find it, and it's just really cool to see the investment and the excitement that people have no matter where you go when it comes to fly fishing, and then the kind of the conservation and the culture that surrounds it. So there you go. 3 questions, +1, +2, I guess. If you have questions, let me know. Matthew@castingacross.com. If I don't get to it in this format, then I will get back to you. I might even pop up on the podcast if it has some cross appeal, as they say. But this is something I really enjoy. I really enjoy interacting with the things that you think are interesting. I could talk about things I think am interesting all day long, but at the end of the day, it's what we together think is interesting that makes this so much fun. The fly fishing website, podcast, the YouTube channel, all that sort of stuff. With that said, head over to castingacross.com, where there's 3 posts a week on the people, places, and things that go to the pursuit of fish.